Welcome, everybody. I am very happy that students and teachers reflect upon the meaning of dwelling. I would like to thank Professor Madraza for allowing me this opportunity of taking part in Thinking Dwelling. And I would also like to thank Adrià for all the help he has given me. 6 years ago, I was studying this building, La Ricarda, one of the dwellings that best represents the renewal of Catalan architecture during Franco's regime. These photographs by Francesc Català Roca show the modernity of this residence designed by Antoni Bonet Castellana. While I was looking at the pictures, something in them troubled me. The house was empty. Not a living soul anywhere. Then my tutor, Juan José La Huerta, said to me, go and find all the people that belong in these photos and put them back in the building, which is exactly what I hastened to do. And I began studying the concerts held at La Ricarda during the 60s. Today, I would like to share some of the ideas from that research with you, in the hope and desire that they might suggest some answers to the question, what does dwelling mean? Right, our story begins in 1950, the year the engineer Ricarda resolves to build his family mansion in an area of pine forest by the sea known as La Ricarda in el Prat de Llobregat, just outside Barcelona. The Catalan architect, Antoni Bonet Castellana, is commissioned for the undertaking. The Gomis mansion, nicknamed La Ricarda, followed a prolonged period of gestation, over 12 years. The plan of the final design is organized by repeating a structural module of 880 by 880 meters that generates the different rooms all on the ground floor. We have the central space of the house with its entrance, living room, dining room and kitchen. We have the master bedroom, the children's bedrooms, and the domestic quarters. The house is spread over the grounds. It blends in with the surroundings. The ground floor plan conveys an image of rationality. On a grid, rooms alternate with open spaces and covered outdoor areas. But these implacable squares change unexpectedly when we see the cross-section. The module is covered by a subbased vault that turns each square into a shelter. Many years had passed since two architects, whose ideas Bonet Castellana shared, had begun claiming a different modernity. Both Le Corbusier and Josep Lluís Sert argued that the modern architect, concerned with function, new materials, the economy, can learn many lessons from vernacular architecture and should reconcile the 2 points of view. And they designed solutions with vaults, referring back to Catalan tile vaulting, la volta catalana de maó de pla, Catalan tile vaulting. La Ricarda toes this line of modernity and tradition together. For most people, the verb to dwell means to take root somewhere, perhaps forever. And here, the architect, Bonet Castellana, recognizes, understands the site and dialogues with tradition. The vaults hint at the curvature of the pines while evoking the country's building tradition, the Catalan tile vaulting, la volta catalana de maó de pla. extensive glass surfaces, and the use of ceramic lattice work visually link the interior and the exterior of the building. Where does the house end? Here, the garden and the house constantly intertwine. To dwell is to make some place one zone, and to know the scope of the place where it begins and where it ends. Do you know where your house ends? Sometimes this is easy to define, but on other occasions, diffuse transitional spaces arise that allow to expand one's threshold. But let's get back to our story. After a long process of 12 years, as we said, finally in 1962, the house is completed. The Gomez family is delighted and proud of the result. And what do you think they do next? What would you do? Have a party, an inauguration party for their new home, because to dwell is also to celebrate. We like to celebrate that we have established ourselves somewhere, that we inhabit a place. And it is a common feature of many cultures to celebrate rituals and festivals around the new home. To ask the gods for the protection, or simply to share one's happiness with friends. Now please, raise your hands, all those of you who have participated in an inauguration of a house or a housewarming party, a lovely expression, housewarming party. Well, I see that there are not many of you. And this is the main room in which the party was held. The large living room, which occupies 2 modules, that is to say, 150 square meters. The living room, right? In this old picture, we can see that the room was equipped with 6 loudspeakers, right? Loudspeakers, altaveus, loudspeakers. Let's study the room in more detail. Here we have the 2 modules separated by the chimney. The space is generously illuminated by a window to the south and is protected by a brise soleil on the west side. Please take special note of how we access the room. The main door, this main entrance, allows an oblique and counterlight view of the large living room. But be careful when entering. Don't stumble on the piano, which in a dominant position welcomes us in. Note also that there is another access here, another access. Finally, the new cabinets contain the new hi-fi system. Hi-fi system, right? Hi-fi system. Alta fidelidad, right? Hi-fi system. Remember, we saw the speakers earlier. So, the presence of the piano and the hi-fi system tell us a lot about Ricarda Gomez's passion, music. Therefore, for this opening ceremony, we will have live music. But what kind of music? Would you like to hear it? But have you received an invitation to the party? Here is the exclusive card that a select few received, who, on opening it, read that on the evening of November the 23rd, 1963, a concert by performers such as Ana Ricci and Carla Santos, interpreting compositions by Robert Gerard, Joaquim Oms, and Josep Maria Mestres Quadrell, would be held at La Ricarda. Today, we shall only discuss the last piece on the program, entitled Divertimento La Ricarda. At that time, the composer, Mestre Squadreny, was a young musician who wanted to experiment and to go beyond what was being taught at the music conservatories. He was interested in what John Cage was proposing, to push an instrument to its limits, to achieve new sounds, or the staging of happenings, where musicians also behave like actors, talking and moving about. Mestre Squadreny composed Divertimento La Ricarda specifically for the inauguration of the building. And his aim was that the music explored the architecture of the living room. And for this, he chose 3 performers: a flute, a clarinet, and a bass. The play begins when the bass player enters the room through the front door and starts playing on his own in front of the audience. While the bassist is playing his solo, a flutist, who is among the audience, stands up and plays along with the bassist. Moments later, a clarinetist appears. He comes in through the front door, playing one single note. And when he can't blow any longer, he puts his clarinet on the ground and abandons the room, leaving by the same door he came in through. The other 2 musicians carry on playing, and the audience cannot see that when the clarinetist leaves the room, he gets hold of another clarinet and moves to the other entrance. And there he waits his turn. Then, unexpectedly, he bursts into the room, surprising the audience from behind, where he plays a long solo on the clarinet. Would you like to listen to it? We will listen to the bass and flute playing together, then the clarinet will join them with his solo. I warn you of something. Well, we will try to imagine that we are in the room dressed in tuxedos. And I warn you that the music we are about to hear is light years away from Lady Gaga and requires absolute silence to be appreciated. Only 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute of silence to be appreciated. Please pay close attention to the architecture and to the music. Do you think they are related? Dice Adrià? Music you were expecting to hear in this building. What our eyes see and what our ears hear is modern, fresh, bold, maybe, minimal, and concise. Do you really think think that Ricardo Gomez has invited his friends only to a party? Or has he invited everyone to see what a modern house he has, and that the music he listens to is modern, in conclusion that he is modern? To dwell is to show who you are. Every photo that you hang on the wall of your house, each book upon the shelf, every mirror is a reflection of you. But how does the divertimento a la Ricarda end? Well, after his solo, the clarinetist joins his two companions and all three play together until the bass player finishes his part and leaves. Then the clarinetist also finishes and leaves. The flautist finishes the piece on his own and then also leaves. And how did the audience react at the time? Did they like the music? Did they hiss? I propose we listen to the recording in question of the evening of November the 23rd, 1963. Ricardo Gomez recorded the concert on his modern hi-fi system. Here are the last 30 seconds, with the flautist finishing the piece on his own and the audience's reaction. Well, the guests applaud. It seems that they liked the music. Or maybe they didn't. As Professor Huerta explains, the modern artist of the likes of our composer here, Mestre Squadret, wants to abandon conventions, propose new and surprising ideas, but at the same time, the modern artist has no choice but to work for an affluent audience, with money to commission him works. Clients who contradictorily, not always, but usually, conventional. Now, if friends of yours were to invite you to the inauguration of their home, and the dinner was not to your liking, would you say so? No. Yes. To dwell a place turns us into its host, and that of our friends in our homes, they become our guests. And convention reminds us of the need to be polite when we are invited to someone's home. To dwell also involves respecting certain social conventions. Therefore, we will never know for certain if the guests liked the concert. But the fact is that the following year, the same audience was invited once again to La Ricarda for another concert that aroused even more perplexity. But these concerts show the vitality of the house. To dwell is also to celebrate. In conclusion, if we want to answer the question, what does to dwell mean? We could look to architecture for an answer, but we will find far more solutions, I believe, by carefully observing the people inside and outside buildings. And since we have here one of Marita Gomez is here with us, it's a pleasure to have her here with us. She's essential to understand La Ricarda today. She's one of the daughters of Ricardo Gomez and Inés Bertran. She inhabited La Ricarda, and she's very keen on music, so she has inherited the same passion from her father. And well, now we have 10 minutes, because there's another speech later on. I encourage you to ask questions. Some of my students have this duty to ask questions. And, I would welcome Marita's comments on the presentation. And I would like to ask her something. One of my favorite films is Mon Oncle. And I love the character of the little boy who lives in a modern house and he hates it profoundly. He doesn't like it at all. And I was eager to ask her, how is it for a young girl or for a teenager to inhabit a masterpiece, because La Ricarda nowadays is a masterpiece, but a modern house? Do you have fond memories? Were you able to regard this building as your home? Do you have warm memories?
Absolutely.
Oh.
We grew with the house, or the house grew with us. My mother's family used to spend every single Sunday. I mean, La Ricarda is an estate that has belonged to the Burton family for over 100 years. So we used to go every single Sunday. In those days, we used to go to school on Saturdays, not you, but we. And every Sunday, when the house was being built, every single Sunday we would go to see the works going on. And that went on from middle 57 until we went to live into the house in early 62 with the house unfinished. So it was a normal place for us, nothing special. It's only when you're grown up that you become aware of what that house means. So for us it was very normal. It was a very simple house. If you ever go there, you'd see there's no, it's very exclusive, it's very easy to live there. There's no little corners or places to hide. There were very few rules in the house. They all led to good living together. Each one had his or her own responsibility. I mean, it was not complicated it is. And of course we had plenty of good memories, gatherings. As soon as the house was finished, that was the house, the recommended house for the family. So,
Thank you.
there are many, many stories we can talk about, but that would be too long, maybe.
Thank you, Marita. Questions, please? My students. Julia!
Do you think that living in La Ricarda has marked you as like a personality or a way of living as you are now?
It's very difficult to say. It's not only living in La Ricarda. I think it's the way my parents considered life and focus on the studies. And that's why they were able to build La Ricarda. It was really something crazy in those days, more so because the architect was living in Buenos Aires all the time. And no one understood what was being done there. Father was an engineer, and there were two perfectionists, architect and owner, and then the female owner, my mother, was the one to put things down to work. But
Which was your way of living there? What made you different from people that live in Barcelona in
we were living in nature, in a way. Nature was respected. It was a house that respected every single person. There's something you can see in the correspondence. At some time, they're discussing the furniture in the servants' quarters. And Father says, we've been discussing with Ines, of course my mother, that they only had provided a kind of wardrobe, that they need a piece of furniture to keep their own things and private things with drawers they can lock, and that sense of privacy. And they were looking for that even for the people that didn't belong to the family that were living with us. And you can feel these details really permeate your way of understanding life and considering life. And in that sense, it's not only the house is a reflection of a way of living and understanding life of my parents, and that came to us.
Thank you. Adriana.
And how did the location of the house affect like your everyday duties and lifestyle?
everyone had to take care of his or her own room. You had to contribute. We had persons helping in the household chores, but you should help them at the same time. That meant that they were not serving you, they were helping you, which is a different way of functioning things. And in those days there were almost no cars. We used to go to the village on bike. And there was no telephone, there were of course no mobiles, no television. So it was a very different way of life. What we used to, in the morning, get up, get your breakfast, get things ready. If you had any homework to do, in those days we were going all to school, then there was always music in the house. So there was a time, that was my father's time, we had to be very quiet if we went into the living room. And then there would be common space for all the family to discuss or listen to other music. And there was, so that was also a way of living, respecting what was the leader of the house. And then we would go and visit relatives. There are 7 houses all in all in the estate. They all belong to the family, so we had cousins and uncles and whatnot. So it was a very quiet sort of life. It was an open house. I mean, even at times we forgot to lock the front door at night. So that means the way we lived in those days. And it was open to anyone. There was always people coming into the house, friends or family coming with their own friends and so on. So we had, and there was also silence time after lunch. There was a time that no one should be talking or doing, just time for yourself. So that was very important in the house as well.
I have another question.
Mariche?
Talking about location, how did the proximity to the airport, like, did it influence?
Well, in those days, we go back to even to the early 60s. It was a small aerodrome, and to give you an idea, people in the family and people in the village still remember driving their bikes on the runways. Something that is impossible to do now. So that means it was not locked. There were very few flights. Oh, that's the flight going to Mallorca, 2 o'clock. So it was a presence, but it was a very, very small sort of activity. Absolutely different from that. If you are interested in the story of Barcelona Airport, there's a documentary by Montserrat Besses, can't remember the name, Embarcament Immediat, I think it's called. She did that for the inauguration of the new airport, terminal, what is called now Terminal 1. And it starts in the early 20s when there was La Volateria. It was kind of aerodrome, very tiny ones, just for mail transport. And afterwards, passengers began to fly.
Thank you, Marita.
You're very welcome.
Now it's time for running Granados. Thank you. Thank you for